Honorable Men Discord. Should air tours end? Tragedy on the Hudson in New York City. Let's talk about it. So for those of you who haven't heard already, there was a tragedy that took place on the Hudson. A tour helicopter just fell to the Hudson River at a tremendous speed. The images showed that it seems as though the propeller separated from the craft, and the tail end also separated from the helicopter, which doesn't make any sense because up until now there hasn't been any reports of any type of collision. But this is still an ongoing investigation as to what happened. I don't know if it's a mechanical thing or it's a thing of a lack of an inspection on maybe the where the craft was, either, what's the right term for this? Maybe the rivets that keep the craft, the different pieces together. Maybe the rivets weren't intact. I don't know what it is, but I thought it was strange that the rotor and the tail end was off of the helicopter. But let's take a listen to this news report, courtesy of 7 News Australia, actually. Let's take a look at it.
The horrific final moments of the fatal flight. The helicopter falls out of the sky, plunging into the Hudson River. It appears to break apart and flip. Another angle shows the rotor blade close behind.
It sounded like a sonic boom on my right. So I look up and literally I just see a helicopter splitting in two.
I know that the main rotor, you could see it just spinning and everything.
The helicopter upside down, floating on the surface as crews race for the wreck. There were no survivors.
Aboard the helicopter were 6 people, 1 pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children.
A family of 5 visiting from Barcelona. Augustin Escobar, a Spanish tech CEO, posing with his wife and 3 children moments before takeoff.
We were met by the first responders and they told us they did everything they can to try to save these victims, and you can see the trauma in their face.
The helicopter was a Bell 206. It took off from Lower Manhattan at 2:59 p.m. local time. The Joy flight tracking the island before heading back south, then losing control, tumbling into the Hudson River 18 minutes later.
Well, it appears to me from the video that there was some sort of catastrophic flight control malfunction where the main rotor blade and head and the tail rotor blade assembly departed the aircraft in flight.
The flight's popular with tourists, just a few $100s to view the city's famous skyline. This video will be crucial for investigators to determine what went wrong this time. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
Why are you not in?
Well, so I just have another clip. First of all, rest in peace to that family, because just a tragedy. These tours are very popular. I could only imagine, everyone wants that exclusive aerial view of the skyscrapers in Manhattan. So anyone can fall victim to something like this. Interestingly enough, there was a point in time, I don't even know if the tour still is still in service or in business, I should say. There was a tour that I remember a couple years ago where part of the tour was to strap you into a harness and allow you to take photos of your feet dangling out of the helicopter. Let me know in the comments if that tour, for those of you that live in New York, of course, let me know if that tour is still in operation, still in business. Because when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I would do something like that. As crazy as that may sound, I was thinking about, one day signing up for it so that I could take a photo of my feet dangling off. And it's like a professional photo of your feet, your sneakers, and you might see like maybe the Statue of Liberty or the skyline down below. Excuse me, down below. But wow. I want to get into this next clip. This is courtesy of Eyewitness News, Channel 7. And actually that first clip was part of Channel 7. I guess 7 News Australia just took the feed from Channel 7 Eyewitness News. This video that I'm about to play is actually of one of the pilots or team members of Eyewitness News that flies on the Channel 7 helicopter and his thoughts on the incident. Let's get into it.
I want to go to our John Del Giorno right now. He's standing actually with Newscopter 7 behind him because they're not allowed to fly in this weather right now. And John, I just briefly want to say it's remarkable what you put into these observations in the last hour and a half. And one thing that has struck me, you said this is just such a rarity. It doesn't happen often. If my notes are right, since 1977, 32 people have died in helicopter crashes in New York City. That's just not a lot of people. Zero is the better number, but I know that. So what the feeling you must have tonight and what you're seeing and what is going to happen, this mystery is about how this happened to this chopper.
Well, I think the big question, Bill, and thank you, seeing that still shot, seeing that video of the helicopter falling out of the sky is really what we're all, and when I say we, it's everybody out here at the heliport, it's what we're curious about, because that you're seeing right there, that has shaken everybody out here, because that is a worst case scenario. There's no controls on the aircraft for the pilot to do anything to try and work for a better outcome here. So that is a completely catastrophic scenario. And Bill, as rare as helicopter accidents are, it's even more rare to see an aircraft shed parts like that. That picture, from those of us out here that you look at it, you kind of know what you're looking at. The aircraft is upside down. It has no main rotor blades, and it has no tail boom.
So I just wanted to speak on, now that I know the term, the tail boom, I'm thinking there may have been an issue with the welding, the area where they connected the tail boom to the rest of the body of the helicopter. Maybe there may have been a welding issue or a rivet issue, or maybe both. But again, with these tours and the helicopters taking flight, I want to say more often than a news helicopter, I could assume. I wonder what the inspection process is, and given the fact that I think he's going to mention it later on in this video, given the fact that there hasn't been a major helicopter incident on the Hudson since they said the 70s, I know many will look at it like, oh, well, helicopters don't go down often. But regardless of the fact that the last helicopter accident was in the 70s, it's still something that's alarming and concerning because, again, why did it separate? There was no collision. So this, if anything, unfortunately for the family, is a gift and a curse. The gift is that the curse is obviously the 6 lives that were lost, the family members and the pilot. But the gift is that maybe this sheds light on the whole industry of helicopter tours, and they're going to have to do a better job at inspecting these crafts before taking off. You know, I don't know. This was avoidable in my opinion. Had an inspection been done, they may have been able to identify some type of crack or something. You know, I could only assume. I don't know, because I just don't see how it just separates like that. But let's continue.
And, you know, without speculating, that's going to point towards some sort of impact, whether something hit the aircraft, whether a portion of the aircraft hit itself. That's possible. That sounds crazy. I don't want to get too deep into it. But that's what they're going to look at. But something went catastrophically wrong that left that pilot with really no options.
Talking about what possibly could have happened here. We know that visibility was good at the time. It was about 10 miles. The ceiling was 9,000 feet. Wind gusts were 20 to 25 miles per hour. You know, any other idea what may have caused this? But secondly, you mentioned that there are some clues that we get that the pilot may have known something was wrong. The fact that you've got the balloons, I don't know what the proper term is for that, that they were deployed. So can you walk us through that?
Well, in a scenario like that, if the pilot senses there's a problem, Newscopter 7 behind me, you can see those gray bags down on the skids. Those are the emergency floats that you were talking about. And actually, for us, when we fly in the city, the river would be a desired place to make an emergency landing because it's unobstructed. There's no people there. There's no buildings. It's a good place for us to go, and you're going to count on those floats to keep you on top of the water long enough to be rescued. And that's really the goal. Yeah. The fact that the floats were inflated on this aircraft could be a sign that the pilot recognized a problem and started going for the water. What happened between that point and the aircraft beginning to shed those parts? You know, we've seen the image with no tail boom and no main rotor. We've seen parts splashing into the river. The aircraft came apart, and you're certainly not doing a kind of speed where you're going to have that kind of a stress on an aircraft, but something went catastrophically wrong, and that's really what the investigation is going to center on.
Right. And that helicopter just went down so quickly, so it was so difficult for anyone to react in that situation.
And the floats actually did their job. They just weren't connected to anything. That's the real problem. John, I got to ask you this, and
Yeah, so although the floats were opened and deployed, the craft landed, or I should say crashed upside down. So it's like the chances of them surviving was next to none at that point also. Very unfortunate situation. I mean, in all things that you do, always, you know, count your blessings. I don't know if those of you out there that watch this content are spiritual, but I advise just saying a prayer for you and your family before you take part in any type of activity like this. Even when you're just flying, just traveling abroad or far, you should consider just saying a prayer, because this type of thing shouldn't have happened. They were just trying to enjoy the experience of Manhattan. But very unfortunate, and I'd love to know, after an investigation is concluded, what caused it to separate the way it did. Here's another video. I took the audio off. Just showing the rotor just coming down. That came down second to the actual craft. Just insane. Just insane. But again, should air tours be should they end? And most likely they won't end, because it's a lucrative business as far as tourism is concerned in Manhattan. So I doubt it's going to end, but I do believe that changes will be made as far as inspections on these crafts, as it should. You know, lives are at stake, including the pilot's life. Lives are at stake. So, I mean, that's my take. You know, very unfortunate, but it's eye-opening. You know, I was fortunate enough years ago to fly on a helicopter in Puerto Rico, and I did it after the unfortunate demise of Kobe Bryant. And you might say to yourself, well, why would you do something like that after, you know, seeing what happened with Kobe Bryant? One, I have faith. Two, I believe when it's your time to go, there's nothing you can do about it. So I try not to live my life in fear, you know, so that's the second reason why I did it. But for me, that was a one and done experience. When you see things like this, even though these things like haven't happened in such a long amount of time since an incident occurred, it could still happen. You know, anytime you're in the air, you know, man was never made to be in the air. So when you're in the air, whether it's an airplane or a helicopter, you should be saying a prayer, you know, for your safety. Yeah, but very unfortunate. But that experience that I had in Puerto Rico was a one and done. I don't have any plans to be on a helicopter again. It's like playing Russian roulette, you know, and I don't like playing Russian roulette. So, but that's my take on it. There's really nothing much I expect anyone to say in the comments about this, other than that it's unfortunate and just a sad case. But as always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.